William Shatner, the iconic captain of the Starship Enterprise, has entertained generations as Captain Kirk, becoming one of the most recognizable faces in television and film history. But behind the charm, charisma, and legendary performances, a story has quietly persisted for decades, a story about tension, conflict, and strained relationships on the set of Star Trek. At 94, Shatner has finally opened up, revealing why, according to him, the entire cast once harbored resentment toward him. For years, fans speculated about the dynamics behind the scenes, fueled by anecdotes, interviews, and behind-the-scenes gossip. Some pointed to creative differences, others to personality clashes, and a few hinted at professional rivalries. The truth, Shatner explains, is far more layered than simple disagreements. It's a mix of ambition, youthful egos, and the pressures of producing a groundbreaking show that demanded both excellence and innovation every single day. Shatner's revelation offers a rare glimpse into the human side of one of television's most iconic productions. While the cast's conflicts were never widely publicized at the time, those tensions shaped the experience of creating Star Trek. Behind the cameras, the legendary camaraderie that fans imagine was often challenged by misunderstandings, differing priorities, and the intensity of working on a series that became a cultural phenomenon. In this video, we uncover the full story behind William Shatner's admission, exploring the cast's strained relationships, the pressures of life on set, and how Shatner himself navigated being both a leading man and a polarizing figure. From behind-the-scenes conflicts to the ultimate reconciliation or lingering regrets, we reveal the untold story that fans have wondered about for decades. Prepare to hear what Shatner says about the tension, the misunderstandings, and the truth behind why the entire Star Trek cast at one point reportedly hated him. William Shatner is a name that commands instant recognition, a symbol of charisma, confidence, and the adventurous spirit of Captain James T. Kirk. Long before he became a cultural icon, Shatner was a talented actor navigating the competitive world of television. His casting as the captain of the Starship Enterprise in Star Trek marked the beginning of a journey that would define his career and transform popular culture. Fans embraced him immediately, drawn to his commanding presence, sharp wit, and unique energy that brought Captain Kirk to life. However, behind the scenes, the story was more complicated than the confident, fearless character audiences saw on screen. Shatner was ambitious, determined to excel, and deeply committed to his craft. These qualities, while essential for his iconic role, sometimes created tension with the rest of the cast. The pressures of filming a groundbreaking science fiction series, unprecedented in its themes, effects, and expectations, exacerbated personality clashes and differing priorities among the team. Ambition, in this context, became a double-edged sword. It fueled Shatner's rise, but also contributed to underlying resentment from colleagues. From the very first episodes, Shatner's leadership role as the lead actor placed him in a position of influence. His dedication to perfecting each performance, ensuring continuity, and pushing the boundaries of what the series could achieve sometimes clashed with his fellow actors' own visions for their characters. While Shatner's intentions were often professional, the perception among the cast was complicated by ego, creative differences, and the immense pressure of filming a show that demanded excellence day after day. At the time, these tensions were rarely publicized. Interviews and media coverage focused on the excitement of the new series, the innovative storytelling, and the chemistry of the ensemble cast. Yet in private, the dynamics were far more intricate. Shatner, ambitious and outspoken, was often perceived as dominating scenes or overshadowing his colleagues, even when his aim was to elevate the show's overall quality. The combination of youthful ambition, professional competitiveness, and the unique stress of creating a cult classic series created a combustible environment that would simmer for years. It sets the stage for understanding why, decades later, Shatner would admit that his relationship with the Star Trek cast was far from smooth. It was a story of talent, ambition, and human complexity, a reminder that even legends of television are not immune to conflict, misunderstandings, and the challenges of collaboration under intense scrutiny. The rise of William Shatner as Captain Kirk was as much about navigating behind-the-scenes relationships as it was about commanding a starship on screen. While William Shatner's Captain Kirk was bold, confident, and charismatic. The atmosphere behind the cameras of Star Trek was far more complicated. By the early seasons, the dynamics among the cast began to show signs of strain. Shatner's dedication to his role and his instinct to command scenes often clashed with his fellow actors' visions and expectations. These tensions were subtle at first, but gradually grew into a palpable sense of friction. Shatner, ever committed to his craft, had a tendency to push himself and, unintentionally, push others. Scenes were meticulously rehearsed under his direction, and he often advocated for a specific tone or style. While these actions stemmed from a desire to elevate the show, his co-stars sometimes interpreted them as overbearing or controlling. Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley, and the rest of the ensemble, while highly professional, occasionally felt overshadowed by Shatner's assertive approach. The result was a simmering frustration that, over time, contributed to the perception that the entire cast hated him. Creative differences also played a major role. Star Trek was revolutionary in both storytelling and production, and every actor had their own ideas about character development and dialogue delivery. Shatner, as the lead, naturally had more influence, and this sometimes caused resentment among colleagues who felt their contributions were undervalued or overlooked. Rehearsals could become tense, small disagreements were magnified, and minor slights sometimes escalated into more serious conflicts. The combination of ambition, pressure, and strong personalities created an environment where tension was inevitable. Social dynamics, outside of filming, further complicated relationships. While the cast spent long hours together on set, the pressures of early fame and the high expectations of a network production intensified underlying frustrations. Shatner's outspoken nature, which later became one of his trademarks, was sometimes misunderstood by his colleagues as arrogance. The very traits that made him magnetic on screen, confidence, intensity, and leadership, could be perceived as domineering in the intimate, high-pressure environment of a television set. Even as conflicts grew, the professionalism of the cast kept the show moving forward. They recognized the importance of delivering quality performances for the audience while privately navigating personal tensions. For Shatner, this meant balancing his creative vision with the need to maintain working relationships. It was a delicate dance, one that required both patience and occasional compromise. Though it wasn't always successful. Highlights the origins of the tension that William Shatner would later acknowledge. The hatred reported among the cast wasn't born out of malice but from a mixture of ambition, miscommunication, and the pressures of producing a groundbreaking series. Understanding these behind-the-scenes dynamics provides context for Shatner's later reflections and helps fans appreciate the complexity of creating a show that became a cultural phenomenon. The conflicts, while challenging, were part of the process that forged Star Trek into the legend it is today. As Star Trek progressed, the tensions between William Shatner and his cast became more pronounced, shaped by both on-set incidents and the pressures of producing a groundbreaking television series. While much of what happened was private at the time, Shatner's reflections at age 94 offer insight into why the relationships with his co-stars were so strained. These conflicts weren't simple quarrels. They were the result of personality clashes, creative disagreements, and the constant stress of working in an environment that demanded excellence under scrutiny. One source of friction stemmed from Shatner's instinct to command scenes. As Captain Kirk, he often took the lead in rehearsals, offering suggestions on delivery, timing, and emotional emphasis. While he believed this approach was necessary to bring the best performance possible, some cast members interpreted it as controlling. Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley, and other actors had strong creative ideas of their own, and the repeated push and pull over interpretation of lines or blocking created tension. Small disputes over performance choices sometimes escalated into lingering resentment. Even though all parties remained committed to the overall success of the show. Another factor was Shatner's natural charisma and confidence. His on-screen presence and assertive personality drew attention, which sometimes left co-stars feeling overshadowed. In a tight-knit ensemble cast, this imbalance could breed frustration. For example, during early seasons, cast members reportedly felt that their contributions were minimized in favor of Kirk's heroic spotlight, while Shatner viewed these moments as part of his role as the lead actor. The perception among the rest of the cast was different, creating an emotional distance that persisted off-screen. External pressures also contributed to the tension. Filming schedules were demanding, resources were limited, and network executives closely monitored performance. Despite these challenges, Shatner acknowledges that much of the resentment was never personal. Over time, he realized that his co-stars were navigating their own ambitions and frustrations, just as he was. Misunderstandings and unspoken grievances contributed to a perception of animosity which, in hindsight, was amplified by the intensity of working together on such an innovative project. At 94, Shatner reflects on these moments with a mix of regret, empathy, and humor, recognizing the human complexity behind the conflicts that shaped the legendary series. Delves into the real reasons the cast reportedly hated Shatner. Combination of creative clashes, personality dynamics, and the pressures of producing a cultural phenomenon under intense scrutiny. These incidents, while challenging at the time, were instrumental in defining the behind-the-scenes story of Star Trek, a story of ambition, tension, and ultimately, growth and understanding. Decades after the original Star Trek series wrapped, William Shatner has taken time to reflect on the complex dynamics that defined his early years on set. At 94, he openly admits that the tension between himself and the cast was real, acknowledging both his own behavior and the pressures that contributed to misunderstandings. In interviews, Shatner emphasizes that much of the perceived animosity stemmed from the intensity of producing a groundbreaking show, the strong personalities involved, and the natural friction that occurs when talented individuals are working under extraordinary circumstances. Shatner's reflections reveal a mix of humility and insight. He recognizes that his ambition, confidence, and drive to excel sometimes created situations where co-stars felt overshadowed or undervalued. What he perceived as dedication to the craft was, at times, interpreted as dominance or arrogance. In retrospect, he understands how the pressures of early fame, the demanding schedule, and the pioneering nature of science fiction television contributed to a climate where conflicts were inevitable. This candid acknowledgement offers fans a rare and honest glimpse into the human side of one of television's most enduring icons. Over the years, relationships among the original Star Trek cast evolved. While tensions existed during filming, many of the actors later found reconciliation, mutual respect, and even camaraderie. Shatner notes that time allowed for perspective, forgiveness, and a recognition that their shared experiences created something historic. He also highlights that the conflicts, while difficult, were part of the creative energy that fueled the show's innovation. Without those clashes, the cast might not have pushed each other to achieve the groundbreaking performances that defined Star Trek. The legacy of these revelations is twofold. For fans, Shatner's admission humanizes the behind-the-scenes story of a beloved show, reminding viewers that even iconic productions are shaped by human complexities. For aspiring actors, writers, and filmmakers, it offers a lesson in collaboration, communication, and understanding the delicate balance between ambition and empathy. Shatner's honesty underscores that conflict does not erase achievement, it often accompanies it, shaping both the individuals involved and the art they create. Ultimately, highlights how time, reflection, and perspective have reframed the story of William Shatner and his Star Trek castmates. What may have been perceived as hatred was, in many ways, a reflection of ambition, personality clashes, and the extraordinary demands of creating a cultural phenomenon. Shatner's willingness to address this openly at 94 offers closure for fans and insight into the realities of working on a historic series. It reminds audiences that even legends are human and that the brilliance of Star Trek was born not only from talent, but from navigating challenges, misunderstandings, and the pressures of pioneering television.